Okay, so you know how every app has that visual side, right? Like all those buttons and sliders and things. The graphical user interface. It's kind of wild how much thought goes into making those feel good to use.
Yeah, it's one of those things that seems deceptively simple, right? You
Totally.
don't think about it, you just kind of click the button and expect it to do the thing.
Yeah.
But behind the scenes,
Yeah, tons of code, I bet.
it's complex,
Yeah.
making sure a slider moves smoothly, that it updates a value correctly, all that stuff to make it behave how we expect. It's a lot.
Which brings us to Python's Tkinter, right? That's what we're diving into today.
Exactly.
We've got this super in-depth tutorial page from plus2net.com, and let me tell you, it is DNSy.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack for sure.
So our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to pull out the really key stuff, the need to know, so you can get started building GUIs without getting lost in the weeds.
Sounds like a plan.
Perfect. So big picture, what is Tkinter? I know it's for making these interfaces, but give us the rundown.
So, within the Python world, Tkinter is your go-to for building desktop applications. The big win is it comes built in with Python, so you don't need to download anything extra. It's known for being pretty beginner-friendly, which is great.
Beginner friendly, sure, but I'm looking at this tutorial and they get into some pretty cool stuff.
Oh yeah, like what?
Okay, there's code snippets here for everything from like your basic scale, a slider.
Right.
But then there's this thing, hold on. It's code for copying values between scales just by clicking a button.
Oh, neat.
That's gotta be handy. Like imagine not having to adjust each slider individually.
Totally. And that's one of the cool things Tkinter lets you do. It gives you those tools to build in those little interactions that make it feel good to use. Instead of just a bunch of separate inputs, you can link them together, make it a smooth experience.
And then get this, RGB sliders. Is that how those color pickers work, you think?
Most likely, yeah, breaking down a color into its red, green, and blue components, you can control each of those with a slider.
That is so cool.
Yeah, so Tkinter provides all those building blocks you need for those common GOA elements.
Very cool.
But instead of just throwing a bunch of code at you,
Right, which wouldn't be very helpful.
let's actually break some of this down, figure out what's really useful here.
Love it. Okay, so they start with the most basic element, which is a scale. Most of us probably know that as a slider, right?
Exactly.
Like in volume control or something.
Yep, and the code snippet, they point out these attributes, things like from, to, and orient.
Okay, so that makes sense. It's defining the range the slider can cover and whether it's horizontal or vertical.
Exactly.
But behind the scenes, what's actually going on with those attributes?
Good question. So think of a scale as representing a range of values that your user can input.
Right, okay.
So from and to, they're setting the limits of that range, like you said. And orient is just deciding whether you're moving the slider horizontally
Side to side.
or up and down. Got it, got it. Now, they also mentioned something called dynamic values, and I got to be honest, that one's a little fuzzy for me. It's not just fixed numbers, right? What does that even mean?
Excellent question. So in a real app, those from and to values, those limits, they don't have to be fixed numbers that you set beforehand. They could actually come from other parts of your program.
Oh, interesting.
So let's say you've got data coming in from a database, right? Or maybe even user input from a different part of the UI. Tkinter lets you hook those things up.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so instead of just building static elements, you're actually linking them to data, making them interactive. That's where the real power comes in.
That's really neat. So it's not just like, here's a slider, it goes from 1 to 10, the end.
Yeah.
It can actually react to things happening in the app.
Exactly.
That's really, really cool. Okay, so we can link scales together, which is already pretty neat.
Yeah.
But can we kick it up a notch? Can we make scales talk to like completely different GUI elements?
Oh, absolutely. And that's where the Spinbox example comes in.
Okay, Spinbox, hit me. So imagine you're adjusting a scale, right? And as you're dragging it, you've also got a Spinbox right there on the screen.
Okay, so for folks who haven't encountered those, what is a Spinbox in the real-world GUI sense?
So you know those number input boxes where you can either type a number directly,
Right.
but then they also have those little up and down arrows on the side?
Yeah, to increase or decrease the value.
Exactly. That's your Spinbox.
Yeah.
And the magic here is that with Tkinter, you can make it so that when you adjust the scale, the Spinbox updates in real time.
Oh, that's slick. I've seen that before and always wondered how it worked.
Yep, it's all happening behind the scenes. And the key to this seamless little interaction is something called shared variables.
Shared variables. Okay, I'm intrigued. I'm sensing we're about to go deeper.
We are. So basically, without getting bogged down in the nitty-gritty code,
Huh.
shared variables let you create this link between different GUI elements.
Okay, so they're not just doing their own thing, they're connected somehow?
Exactly. So in this case, the scale and the spin box, they can both be tied to this same underlying value, this shared variable.
So if I drag that slider, the spin box automatically updates because they're both referencing the same piece of data, essentially?
You got it. It makes for such a smoother user experience.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, imagine if you had to, like, manually update the spin box every time you move the slider. Talk about clunky.
Right. It'd be a nightmare. And think about, like, error proneness.
Oh, totally. Like, you forget to update one or you type it in wrong. Recipe for disaster.
Exactly. Consistency is key. Having that data in sync across your GI, giving the user that instant feedback, it all just makes it feel more intuitive to use.
For sure, for sure. Okay, so we've covered scales, linking them up. What else is in this treasure trove of a tutorial?
Well, they also touch on enabling and disabling scales, which is interesting.
Okay. Why would I want to disable a perfectly good slider? Sounds kind of mean, doesn't it? Like, no, user, you can't touch this.
Uh-huh. Well, think of it less as being mean and more about guiding the user. So let's say your GUI has this multi-step process.
Right.
You might want to disable certain scales until those prerequisite steps are done.
Oh, so they don't accidentally mess things up by changing values in the wrong order.
Exactly. It's like, when you're using software and certain menu options are grayed out until you've selected something else first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you can't choose a font size until you've actually selected some text.
Right. It's all about preventing errors, making it crystal clear what the user can do at each step.
So it's not about limiting them, it's about guiding them through the process.
Exactly. Again, it all comes back to user experience, making it a smooth, enjoyable journey. And speaking of which, there's a whole section in here on options for Tkinter.
Ooh, customization. I do love a good option.
And you've got a lot of them. We don't need to go through everything, but it just highlights how much you can really tailor the look and feel of your GUI.
Give me the highlights. What jumps out at you?
Well, one interesting one is changing the cursor.
The mouse cursor, like what it looks like.
Yeah. So, for example, when you hover over your scale, you could make it so the cursor changes from an arrow to, like, a hand.
Ooh, that's a nice touch.
Right. Just a subtle way to indicate, hey, this thing is interactive.
I love those little details. They really add that polish, It's the difference between something that works and something that feels good to use.
Absolutely. And even something as simple as changing the scale's background color.
Oh, yeah, especially if you're building something like a dashboard where you've got loads of dials and sliders and things.
Totally. Making certain ones stand out, using color to group related elements.
It's all about presenting that information in a way that makes sense visually, too. Not just functional, but like aesthetically pleasing.
Exactly. And speaking of dashboards,
Oh, don't tell me.
they actually have a whole section on building those with Tkinter.
No way. We are so getting to that.
We have to. It looks fascinating.
Hold on, though, before we go totally off script. They have an exercises section here.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. It's like they knew we were doing a deep dive and wanted to give our listeners a little challenge.
It's like they're peering into our studio right now. So they want us to use radio buttons to control the state of a scale?
Sounds like a good test.
Right. So, listeners, if you're following along, this is a great time to pause, fire up your Python editor, and give it a shot yourself.
Seriously. There's no better way to learn than by actually doing.
It's one thing to hear us talk about it, but getting your hands dirty with the code, that's where it really sinks in.
Totally.
Okay, so assuming our intrepid listeners have now conquered the radio button challenge, let's talk about dynamic values for those from and to attributes we talked about earlier.
Yes. This is where it gets really powerful.
Because remember, those values, they don't have to be static numbers.
Not at all.
They can actually change on the fly.
Imagine, like, data flowing in from a sensor
Right.
or a livestock feed constantly updating.
So your GUI is not just displaying a snapshot in time, it's actually reflecting those real-time changes.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Exactly. So instead of hard-coding the limits of your scale, you can have it dynamically adjust based on whatever that live data is throwing at it.
Okay, that is slick. And the example they use here, they're pulling data from a list, doing a bit of math to figure out the appropriate from and to values.
And then, crucially, they use the resolution setting to make sure the scale moves in even steps.
Right, because if your data is jumping around all over the place, you don't want that slider going haywire. It's about presenting the data in a way that still makes sense.
Precisely. It's not just about displaying the data, it's about doing it in a way that's meaningful to the user.
Okay, I am seriously geeking out on this dynamic stuff. But I think it's time we have to talk about RGB sliders. Because, come on, how cool is it that we can control colors with code?
It never gets old. It's like having a little digital art studio right there in your code editor.
I love that.
So as we touched on earlier, it all comes down to breaking down a color into its red, green, and blue components.
And then you can use those sliders to mix and match them, like digital paint.
Exactly. And they actually talk about using this to, for example, dynamically change a button's background color.
Ooh, that's a fun one. So I'm picturing it. I adjust those RGB sliders, and boom, the button changes color in real time.
Exactly. It's a great way to provide visual feedback or just make your GUI a bit more interactive and engaging.
Okay, brainstorming time. What else could we do with that?
The possibilities are kind of endless. I mean, imagine a simple drawing app where you could use RGB sliders to customize the brush color.
Oh, that's a good one.
Or think about like a mood lighting system.
No, controlled by a GUI. That'd
Yeah.
be awesome. You could fine-tune the exact shade of red, green, or blue.
Exactly. It's really just a matter of applying these building blocks in different ways.
Okay, before we get too carried away, the tutorial mentions some other cool ways scales can be used.
Oh, right. Like that thing about dashboards.
Yes, and something about controlling time in a calendar app. I need to hear more about that.
It just goes to show, right? It's all about looking beyond the single element and seeing the potential.
So, talk to me about dashboards. What's the big deal with scales and dashboards?
Well, the example they give really highlights how powerful it can be to visualize data. Because instead of just looking at raw numbers, right, you can have dials, gauges, sliders.
It's so much easier to understand at a glance, and probably way more engaging for the user, too.
Exactly. It's like our brains are wired to process visual information more easily.
Oh, for sure. A well-designed dashboard just makes sense. You know, it tells a story with those visuals. Okay, but now I gotta know. What's this about a calendar app and scales? How do those two things even relate?
Well, it's a really cool example of how you can use a scale to represent something that's a little more abstract, like time.
Time. Okay, I'm listening.
So instead of, say, typing in numbers to set an alarm, you could use a slider to visually pick the hour, the minute, even the second, if you want to be really precise.
Oh, that's cool. It's like those old school alarm clocks where you'd actually slide a little button around to set the time.
Exactly. And they even talk about how you could link that scale to a calendar dropdown, so you've got even more flexibility.
That is clever. I love that we started with a simple slider and now we're talking about, like, the fabric of space-time.
I know, right? It's amazing what you can do with a few lines of code. But seriously, it just highlights how versatile these basic GUI building blocks really are.
And how important it is to think beyond just what does this thing do and start thinking about how can I use this in a way that feels good.
Exactly. Because ultimately, that's what good UI design is all about.
It's about the human on the other side of the screen and how we can make their experience the best it can be.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Speaking of which, this whole deep dive has got me thinking. This whole deep dive, we've been geeking out on all the cool stuff Tkinter can do, building these awesome GUIs. But it makes me think, we don't always appreciate good UI design, do we?
It's true. We tend to notice it more when it's BAD.
100%. It's like, you know the saying, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. With bad UI, it's more like, you don't know how much it makes you want to chuck your computer out the window until you're stuck with it.
Oh, I've been there.
So, listener, serious question for you. Have you ever used an app and the sliders were just janky? Buttons that made no sense, like the whole experience just made you want to scream.
Oh, plenty. I remember this one years ago. Photo editing software.
Yeah.
The brightness and contrast sliders. Way too sensitive.
The worst.
Like the tiniest movement, your picture goes from 0 to 100.
Or those teeny tiny checkboxes. You're like, is it my mouse? Is it my screen resolution? Why can't I hit this thing?
And don't even get me started on vague button labels.
Right.
What am I doing when I click this mystery button?
The worst. And you know, that's the thing. We can have all the Tkinter knowledge in the world, right?
Right.
But if we're not using it thoughtfully, it's almost pointless. It's not just about making the buttons work. It's got to be about making them work well.
For a human being on the other end.
Exactly. So, listener, as you're going on your Tkinter journey, remember, it's not just about the code. It's about building GUIs that are both functional and user-friendly. Don't be afraid to play around, test things out, get feedback on how your designs feel.
Yeah. A well-designed GUI, it's the difference between a frustrating experience and one that's actually delightful.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, on that note, I
Yeah.
think we're wrapping up our Tkinter deep dive for today.
Time flies when you're having fun with GUIs, I guess.
Right. So, listener, we hope you've enjoyed this whirlwind tour of Python GUI programming.
Maybe even spark some ideas. Go build something awesome.
Until next time, happy coding, and keep an eye out for those poorly designed sliders
They're out there.
lurking in the shadows of the internet, waiting to frustrate us all.